he was inspired. What manner of man would be inspired when he sees the suffering of our people? What was he inspired to do? He was inspired to ask the question, where is the black man's government? Where is his president? Where is his country, his army? And he says, not having found those, he decided what? Do you know what he decided? Can anybody tell me? He said, I shall create them. What power is that? What else did Garvey give us? He gave us a commitment to organizing and bringing out publications. Publications to tell our story. Publications to connect Africans with Africans around the world. He started or helped to publish numerous newspapers, magazines, newsletters, pamphlets in his brief career. He started with something called Our Own, then The Watchman, La Nación, La Prensa in Panama, and the very famous The Negro World. It became the most widely read black weekly newspaper in the world, perhaps the only one, in 3 languages, brothers and sisters. He's doing this in the 1920s. How did he do this? He didn't have internet, and he was able to do this. And so the Negro world, back in that time, was anti-imperialist. And Garvey was an anti-imperialist. It had a world circulation, even went to South Africa at a time when it was declared illegal in many countries. What are we doing now? Do we have newspapers like that Garvey had? And we say we love Garvey. What else did he give us? He gave us Africa. He gave us Africa as an idea, Africa as a concept of the motherland, Africa as the idea of our source. He was truly African-centered because he said that Africa was the center of our being, that we should make Africa strong, and that then Africa would support us. Garvey gave us powerful, strong political analysis, sharp political analysis. We must think like that. And we must not be lazy in our thinking, but we must analyze our situation politically from an African-centered perspective. Way back in those times, he had already seen that Africa, he realized that Africa is rich in mineral wealth and resources. And he realized that because of colonialism and neo-colonialism, that Africa is vulnerable to being raped and exploited by foreign nations. Everyone wants to rob Africa. And he said that given this situation, the seriousness of this situation, he said, I'm not going to flatter you, and I'm not going to romanticize and tell you that things are better than they are. He said, how can I do that when England, France, Italy, Belgium, and Spain are all concentrating on robbing every square inch of Africa? That's what Garvey said. They want our territory, they want our land, they want our riches. He says America, Canada, Australia, Europe, and Asia are all preparing for this robbing because they see it as necessary for their own survival. Think about him saying that in 1919, and think about the situation now when all of these foreign nations are in Africa, robbing Africa, and the African people are getting nothing from that. What is our responsibility in that situation? He says if we do not seriously reorganize ourselves people and face the world with a program of African nationalism. Our days are numbered. That's what he said. He knew that the white people wanted Africa and others that were non-African. And therefore he said, Africa for the Africans. Africa for the development of African people, for the black race. Garvey was a visionary, a bold visionary, without fear. Imagine a nation. That's what a visionary does. An African visionary imagines a nation. Imagination, they imagine a nation. They're able to see beyond the white box. All the other so-called leaders said of Garvey's vision, it's impractical. The boys said, it's grandiose. It won't work. All the other leaders did then as they do now. They let the oppressor define freedom even. That makes no sense. They were afraid to define freedom boldly as Garvey did in our own image. And so the visionary does not confine her ideas or his ideas to what can be seen in the physical. Do you understand? Garvey said the time has come for those of us who have the vision of the future to inspire our people to a closer love of self, because it is only through an appreciation of self that we will be able to rise to that higher life that will make us not an extinct race in the future, but a race of men and women fit to survive. Garvey is telling us, if we do not organize for African power, that we may cease to be as a people. Don't take for granted our existence, you all, because there are those who would destroy us. Garvey was a man of action. It wasn't just words, yet those words were inspirational. But he made the words real. He gave them shape. He made them tangible, because he was an activist. He was a doer. And so we say, it's not enough to talk the talk, but we must walk the walk. Garvey was the supreme organizer, because none of these things can happen without organization. At the height of his movement, there were 6 million African people. We've never had that before. He had the first of 6 world conventions. We can't even conceive of an African world convention. At the first one, in Madison Square Garden in New York, there were 25,000 people. We haven't gotten that many African people together since then. And if we did, when we said we got 1 million people together, it wasn't about African power. It was about African people saying, I'm sorry. You have to watch that. We have to be able to analyze what is being done in our name. And so Garvey had the ability to materialize his words. He was a great orator. He could inspire us. But he also made those words real. He said, we are but perpetuating our own sorrow and disgrace and failing to appreciate the first great requisite of all peoples, and that is organization. Get organized, and you will compel the world to respect you. Garvey was also an empire builder. He believed in building a great empire in Africa that would then be the center of all African people throughout the world. And Garvey worked with the masses our people. He said that we need a solution that will benefit the masses of our people, the ordinary people, he said, not the upper class. He encouraged us to do what I see people doing, to create things, to manufacture things that we can then sell to our own people, and to buy black, to sell black, buy black, make black. That's what Garvey told us to do. And Garvey thought in terms of power and was not afraid to talk about power. And these people now that you think are leaders, the people in the United States, the people wherever they are that say they represent our people, do not talk about power. But power is the most important thing that we can possibly think about. It is all about power. The enemy is talking about power. Garvey said power is the only argument that satisfies man. Only protection against injustice. It's power. We don't beg, but we create power and consolidate the power of our people. Garvey loved us. He believed in us. He worked to have us believe in ourselves and to love ourselves. He said, the black people can only get to know themselves to know that in them is a sovereign power, that in them is an authority that is absolute. Then in the next, listen to what he said. In the next 24 hours, we would have a new race. We would have a nation resurrected, not from the will of others to see us rise, but from our own determination to rise, irrespective of what the world thinks. He taught us race pride, and he also modeled race discipline. We must be disciplined in order to be organized. Garvey was hard on us because he loved us. He taught us service to the race, commitment to the race. He taught us service to Africa. He said, keep up the spirit of service to Africa and to the race. Fight the good battle of organization to the end, and surely victory will crown our efforts. He worked to give us a victorious consciousness. He worked to give us courage. Garvey himself gave us the model of an African principle of complementarity. That is the male and the female principle working together. He and Amy Jacques, and he and Amy, his former wife, we can use that as a model. And we must remember that, because we have to support each other. We become a team in this work. He gave us a black Bill of Rights. And everybody needs to get Philosophy and Opinions and other books and read what those black Bill of Rights were. Because now, again, you have people who claim to be leaders, but there is no black agenda. There is no African agenda. And they are afraid to present and to demand in that way. He gave us a do-for-self philosophy. Garvey told us, do for ourselves. He said a race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence sooner or later dies. He said the race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation. The race can only be saved through political independence. Take away industry from a race, take away political freedom from a race, and you have a group